right. Welcome to WhoDooTV. Today we have a special guest from Get Valiant, Josh. Thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, man. So, yeah, dude, we're super pumped up to have you on here, man. I remember meeting you at ECCC and you introducing me to your channel and been listening to a lot of the stuff you've been putting out lately. And, yeah, man. So I'm glad to have you on.
Hey, well, thanks for having me on, and yeah, it was cool to meet you too, especially since you actually took the time to craft like an excellent 1% cosplay, which I thought was just about the neatest thing.
All right.
It was awesome.
Josh, could you if anyone hasn't heard of your podcast or anything, could you let us know or let our viewers know what your podcast is about, what you guys do?
Yeah. So it's called Get Valiant, and the person that I do the podcast with, his name's Eric Baumgard, and Eric is a huge death metal fan. He's in 5 bands.
Oh my god!
So if you're ever man, where's the latest episode of Get Valiant? It's we have to squeeze it in his schedule, because he doesn't just play in bands. He goes out and plays in different states.
Right. Sometimes
he'll be I'll be talking to him, I'm oh, what was your weekend like? And he's oh, I went to 3 states, and then we played a show, and it's how do you have time for this, man? But I think we're just your run-of-the-mill podcast. We do the reviews, we talk a little bit about news, mostly a review podcast. Where Eric and I just offer out our terrible opinions of books. And we're all just big fans of Valiant. The first book I ever bought was Bloodshot 1, the day that Superman died, back in the 90s.
Wow.
Yeah.
And, the cover was what sold me on it. Just seeing that little Barry Windsor Smith cover, and I'd always been a fan. So, from there, I never owned any of the cool books that were always in Wizard until the last couple of years.
Right.
Right before the movie news broke, I started collecting all these books again from the 90s, and picked everything up, and every week I follow what goes on in the Valiant universe, and we talk about it and share our opinions, and that's about it. That's Get Valiant.
Yeah, I check you guys out on Stitcher a lot, and so that's what I'm using, that resource. And I think you guys are also on iTunes, a couple other ways to get a hold of you guys.
Yeah, I listen on iTunes for sure. Yeah.
And then I love Eric's post that he puts of him playing the drums with his Bloodshot shirt. It's pretty cool. It's
yes, every show Eric does, he wears a Bloodshot shirt. It's his favorite character. Awesome. Eric has every single Bloodshot comic except for the DMG variant.
Right.
And he doesn't have the Platinum. Those are the only 2 he doesn't have. He has everything.
That's amazing.
The variants included, right? Yeah.
Yeah, every variant.
Oh, wow.
In fact, if you listen to old episodes of our podcast, Eric always talks about how he needed the Bloodshot 25 variant that Brian Hitch did. Every episode is just oh, I need this variant. And I would message people just to try to find it. Nothing. Yeah. He finally got it just a couple months ago.
Oh.
So we had to find a new topic to talk about every week.
I hope he saves up some money so he can get probably the 1 in 500 that they're going to do to match the EXO middle cover.
Oh, I hope they don't do one for his sake. But I think now he's going to stop because he's just I can't get anything else, and it's just too hard. He's I can't even keep up with the ones that they do have.
Right. I think I'm going to try to get more into commissions, getting some sketches and commissions.
Yeah,
what I feel like.
I think that's a really cool idea.
And I don't have a lot from well-known artists. I have a bunch that I got here from a convention for a little thing that they were doing for Sal Valuta, who had worked on Valiant in the 90s. He was going through cancer, and there was a fundraiser, and they just had a bunch of artists, but you didn't really get to talk to any of them. And so I have 2 commissions. I don't know who they are.
Wow.
I don't know who the artists are, but they look nice.
Yeah. Just with the little scribble of the autograph there.
I would literally text these guys and be what's your name, just so I know, and they wouldn't respond back. Fine.
Yeah, I got Baron and a Rafer at the last one, but yeah, I want to get some more.
Yeah, that's the way to go. I can't afford legitimate original art, covers and pages anymore, but man, sketch covers the way to go. People are usually a lot cheaper because they're smaller, and the Valiant community, the people that work for Valiant that do this stuff, they're awesome, man, and they'll not only just do the work, but they'll talk to you, and they'll talk to you all day about it.
Right. Well, and then on Valiant Fans, there's a bunch of people that have a bunch of theirs posted, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Like,
and I think I've taken pictures to post mine in there. I just haven't gotten to it.
Oh, cool. Well, Summit just happened. What did you think, man? What do you got? What do you think of this year's lineup that we got coming out, and not having Shadow Man this year?
Well, I think the Shadow Man being pushed back to 2018 was maybe like the bigger shock for me, because I think it's that book that every year people are asking about. People want Jack Boniface back in the universe proper.
Right.
I don't know how people really feel about the Magpie persona yet, but they want the character back, and it is one of the bigger characters in the history of Valiant. So I really thought that they were going to have that be like the September, or not the September, but like an October or November book.
Right.
But with the way that Exo Manowar worked out this time, it makes sense for them to try to do a gigantic push for like a March release where they can get a lot of vendors involved and get like as many sales as they can with it.
Right.
And I know that that's one of those things that I'm really excited about. There were some things I didn't expect. Like I didn't really expect the Faith in the Future Force book. I mean, to me, I was just like, when they announced it, I was just like, what? Like, what is that? But I'm not against it. I just thought it was like a really, it just wasn't something I was expecting.
And that gave a spoiler alert about Massacre that she's definitely going to stay alive.
Yeah. So, but I thought there's no way they're going to kill Faith.
Yeah, that would be horrible.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts of what could be in this like classified title that they have? Like what that might be, or anything?
Classified could be a couple different things. I want to say that it's got to be something involving War Mother, and my basis for that theory is that they've shown covers, or at least I think it was Kerry Nord showed a cover off on one of his pages that was a War Mother cover, but it wasn't one that we'd seen. I think that was who it was, but someone had a cover that was shown. It hasn't been released yet. I think there's going to be something else with the character.
Interesting.
And it is something that they talked about. I mean, I kind of think that. Yeah. Or it will be at least something involving 4001. That's just my theory. But I've been known to be wrong all the time.
Right? Exactly. I was speculating because I heard Dinesh talk a little nugget on the cliffhanger of Savage. And so I was thinking, maybe. I mean, how do you leave a book on a cliffhanger like that?
But my thought on that is, like, with as bad as sales were on Savage because it didn't get properly explained to to comic shops and the sales were kind of low, they could have been better.
Right.
I feel like they wouldn't want a repeat performance on that, where like the numbers are just so low and it doesn't get to enough people, because Savage was definitely one of those books that if you were a member of other comic book pages, you would see a lot of people being like, we can't find this. We want to read it. No one has it. Wow. So I feel like Valiant wouldn't do that a second time.
And my other thought was how they talked about how Rapture is going to be like Valiant, the Valiant book. And so I wonder if we're going to get a little mini-series of Shadow Man and that classified piece.
Maybe. And Rapture just is like another book that I was really excited for coming out of the Summit, because I love Cafu's art. I think Kent really understands both Ninjak and Shadow Man.
Right.
Talking with Kent, he explained to me like a little bit about how he doesn't necessarily like magic in comics.
Right.
And so like for him, he's just like, I want to make it work in a way that I like it. And so I like the way that they've done it. And Ninjak is basically like a Shadow Man book. If you took him out of it, there's a lot of supernatural elements in it. I don't know. We'll just see what happens with Rapture. I think it's going to be great.
Kent's interesting, though, because he's doing things that he doesn't really... that he challenges himself, because when he was talking about how he's never done a galactic world before, and then he's coming back out and doing Eternity and Exo in a whole nother planet.
Yeah.
So...
and Eternity, I really like the Divinity books. Those are some of my favorite books that Valiant puts out. And I think a big part of it is that they are new characters, they're new IPs for the company. And Eternity seems like it's going to really add a lot more characters to the universe and really expand the universe too.
Right.
And whenever people start talking about Kirby, I usually get really excited. I'm a Kirby fan, so for me it's like, do those outlandish concepts and just go all out.
Right.
So, there's nothing that can go wrong with it. And the character designs that they showed at the Summit looked great.
Right, they did. I actually posted that on our video of our Summit review. And yeah, Kent put out a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
And then the coloring that they did on some of those looked pretty good too.
Yeah, I even like there's 2 Kari Evans ones,
right.
and I'm not a big Kari Evans fan.
Right.
Usually whenever a book comes out, me and Eric just complain like crazy about it.
Because what else did he do? He did Harbinger, right? The first run of Harbinger?
He did Harbinger, and Harbinger's all right.
Yeah.
But I think like his Imperium work wasn't great to me.
Right.
And that Ninja X story, The Fist and the Steel, which I try not to even mention on that podcast anymore because I didn't really like it. I thought the art was just horrible, really.
That one was hard to get into anyway, that whole book, I thought.
Well, I think one problem that Valiant has with the Dead Side is it's just it changes from every book. So like like in one book you have like little like goblins and things like that. The next time you got like fire angels. The next book you just got a bunch of different things, and it just would be kind of neat like if at one point there was just a little bit more uniformity to it. But I think it's such a like mysterious place within the entire Valiant universe. It kind of has to be that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, just some sort of consistency. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
And then the one I'm super pumped up, man, Salvation. Bloodshot Salvation, dude. That looks so good. The art that La Rosa posted and the recent solicitation that they had with some of Miko's work looks so good.
Yeah, it looks great. They're finally going to put Rampage in the universe in a proper way, I think, which is nice because he's been used in a bunch of one-shots with like you can't really tell like what the historical meaning of them is anymore since they're like alternate universe, like Book of Death and Stalinverse. And it'd be kind of nice for Bloodshot to have like a villain, like someone who can keep coming back at him. And the Scarred Man seems like he might be pretty cool.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, they're actually getting a little bit of a villain gallery for Bloodshot finally. And I think that's going to be good. So.
Yeah.
And then giving him a family to take it away.
Yeah. Well, I'll spare you my more crude comments I make about it all the time, but we'll see how it goes. If it's a little bit more like Lone Wolf and Cub, I can dig it.
Cool. Dude, and Quantum and Woody. That is...
Yeah.
Yes.
That was going to be fun.
Yeah, I don't think Valiant could ever announce a project that I wouldn't like.
That's true, too.
I'm just too much of a homer. So, I know like some people... Quantum and Woody is really that project that people either love it or hate it. But it seems to be like at the same time, the book that people outside of Valiant really like. Like if you ever want to talk about Valiant with people, they bring up like Quantum and Woody.
Right.
It's the book that reaches other people.
Right.
So I hope they push it pretty hard. They got a TV deal going with it.
Right.
And you just got to have those properties out there if you want anyone to even notice it.
Well, because their only other crossover was the Delinquents, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was great too.
Right. And then Kibblesmith, I think that's going to be a good writer. Did you read Valiant High?
Yeah, I read the first issue, and I was probably one of those people that was kind of like, I don't know if I would even care about it. I don't like digital. But I bought it, and I really liked it. I was actually really surprised by how humorous I thought it was. So I'm curious to see what he does with Quantum and Woody.
Right? I think it's going to be pretty good. So
yeah.
He's hilarious. So.
Yeah.
The artist for Moon Knight that's doing Shadow Man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. I can't remember. Greg something.
Yeah, it's like Greg Capullo?
No. Smallwood, I think.
Smallwood, right? Yeah, I think it is Smallwood. And so that just has me leaving to believe that that's going to be Lemire again.
Maybe.
Right.
He hasn't really had like a big work plate with Valiant. He's usually just stuck with one book. And I think like the quality has been great, obviously. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because he's doing so much independent work. He's going to be leaving all of his Marvel books. But maybe he's that happy with Valiant that he's like, fine, I'll take another book. And Kent's kind of the same way. Kent only does creator-owned work in Valiant. I got to ask him about that, and he just said that they just let him do anything he wants, and I'm sure that's how they are with Lemire.
Right. Right, yeah, those two are the duo, so, yeah. And then we got this Exo Manowar Wednesday, Britannia, We Who Are About to Die, and we just read that, so what do you got on it? What do you think?
I think it's great. Yeah. So I love the first series, and my favorite artist with Valiant is Juan Jose Rip. So anything that he does, I usually really like. And this one doesn't seem like it's too different than the first series, really. It's pretty bloody. dealing with a bunch of like some kind of illness that's kind of swept over Rome, and people think that the gods are angry with them, and they think that the Vestal Virgins are tied into it. I think the characterization is just great with it. I really like Antonius and Bran. I think they have such a great relationship. Like it's weird to see how they interact with one another since they've only been in like 5 comics together. Mm-hmm. But like they just have like they're a great duo. And it's a beautiful book. I'm glad that Peter Milligan like had another hit with Valiant since people were so divisive with his Shadow Man stuff.
Right. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people really negative on Peter Milligan, and so now seeing this so far, I've just enjoyed how he's tied in actual history to it so far.
Yeah, like it seems like it's got like some real historical content to it. Mm-hmm. And you know, one thing about this one too, which I'm glad they did, the previous series had those little the essays in the back by like the professors talking about the things that were going on within that time period.
Yeah.
They're keeping that going with the format. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a paper copy in my hand, but I know that this is going to be back in that Valiant Deluxe format. You know, the issues are usually like a really nice cardstock. You feel like you get your money's worth with those issues, I feel.
Yeah, that prestige format's been the one they did EXO with this so far. Yeah, those are nice.
It's just nice to hold in your hand. It's the feedback.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah. Did you notice anything different with Nero this time around?
Well, I noticed that there's like something wrong with his face, like one of his cheeks, and so I'm not sure if it's just like I'm not sure exactly what's going on with it, yet.
Right. Well, like issue 2 of the first series. Remember when he gets to Britannia, the dude's faces are all like kind of warped like that.
Yeah.
And then at the end of 2, after they see Antonio sees kill the villager, that dude that's about to stab Antonius, Antonius rips off his head pretty much and kills him and mutilates his body. That guy had that screwed up face too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I just wonder. I'm sorry. I just
That's the hard part about these things. You all just want to talk over one another.
I just think he's just like a nasty dude that, I don't know. He's crazy in himself, and I thought that was an interesting addition to his design in this book.
Right.
Because it just kind of, I don't know, shows more of his depravity, and, I don't know if it's something venereal or if it's just like he's just gross in general.
He got into one of those bathrooms in Rome.
Yeah, exactly.
Herpes. Oh yeah, Nero is just one of those characters. You can tell that he does remind me of the Joaquin Phoenix character in Gladiator. You just like to, love to hate the guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
So that's how you know you're writing a good character, in my opinion, when you could actually kind of hate the guy.
Yeah.
One thing with Britannia is I just hope they kind of keep it as far away from the regular part of the Valiant universe that they can, because I think it really works on its own. I mean, I guess like really you could maybe see Armstrong pop up in a panel somewhere, like Galad. But other than that, just keep it in its own little corner. It works so well. Right. Don't ever bog it down with anything else like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, like as far as like, how much I enjoyed the first issue, I probably enjoyed this as much as I did the last series too, and I was a big fan of it.
Right.
I just feel like great book, great series.
I like this one a lot because it definitely feels like we're back. We're back with Antonius Axia, and the whole setting of Rome. We're in Rome proper now. But it was cool because it definitely felt like a new season. Kind of like television. The last one started and ended, and it was a great single story that happened. Now we're back, and it doesn't seem unnatural that we're back. It feels very fluid, and these are characters they kind of picked up where they were at, and I really like that about it. It's new, it's exciting. There's a lot of things in it that draw you in, and it makes you want to continue to read this. So it feels new, but it feels the same, and I really like that about it.
And I do like how Peter Milligan didn't force the new female gladiator's character in on us. Like, we don't even know her name yet.
Yeah.
And it's just like that quick page of her being a slave, and then goes back to 2 pages of her being a gladiator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I mean, like, I feel like they introduced the characters at, like, a proper pace with Valiant, so that it's just not, like, too much information on one page. I mean, you're left wondering, like, who is she? Like, what's she about? We know that she was going to be the victim in the beginning and then fought off her attacker, and now she's just, like, the last person to mess with.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, like, I feel like, based upon the way the issue ends, why wouldn't you want to find out what happens going forward?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really cool, just like how she has her own following too.
Right.
Like Antonius hops into the, into the Coliseum, and he just notices all these women that are there to just root for her, which is kind of cool. Like it's just a cool part of her character. It just shows like how intense she really is.
Yeah.
As well as the the signs around. I mean, the signs are all pretty much her. So there's that as well to consider. How do you feel about the supernatural element that's been introduced in this one?
I like it. You know, I'm so curious about how this stuff goes. I thought the devil Orcus from the first series was awesome, and there was so much cool art surrounding him. The statues, though, like the things, statues going on. Like, I'm just so curious about how it goes, and to me, it really sets the mood. Like, it's kind of like a sinister, creepy mood going on, like when these things are talking to Antonius.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you know, I think the book's got a great atmosphere. It just looks beautiful.
Right.
And again, like, I think, like, I'm glad that Rip's got a series like this to work on with somebody, because he does a lot of, like, the little, like, prologues of a book, or he does, like, the 3-page back piece of, like, some history going on, whatever. So it's good to see, like, Valiant give him a book where he just gets to let loose. And I think he's a perfect artist for this kind of period piece.
Totally agree.
It looks great. It really does.
Right, yeah. He did the first series just spot on. They changed the colorist. Jordi Belaire's not on this one.
I noticed that.
Yeah. You could kind of see it with just, I mean, not even knowing it on the title page, but yeah, you can definitely see the difference.
I agree, because, you know, I think Jordi's a little bit more vibrant in her colors. Her color palette's real wide. So I mean, I think you get like a full spectrum of everything with her. Right. Whereas on this one, it seems like it's a little more reined in, but that's okay. I think, like, it works very well with what's going on in the pages.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I think they fit the Britannia, where the first series was in Britannia, and how it worked there, how it was a different atmosphere, and now we're in Rome with this different one. So
that's a good point.
I think that might be part of it.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I actually enjoy it. So anybody who's watching this video, I'm personally giving this a buy. I like it. So
yeah, and probably with the star rating, I'd give it a 4.5.
Yep.
I mean, it's just hard for me to give perfect ratings, but like this one's like really, really good.
Right.
So.
I probably gave every issue of this a 5 on my podcast.
Yeah, nice.
And I'll probably go the same route. I mean, there's just a couple books that, like, with Valiant, I'm just like, I love everything about it.
Right.
I don't see a flaw. If I read it a few times, I'm just like, there's nothing wrong with it. And this is one of them for me. I mean, I really like it. To me, this is like the book that, like, I feel like I've been waiting for them to do forever.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I gave the last one pretty high score. I just had issues with the third issue, last one, just because I was waiting for the answers. I was sitting on the edge of my seat. So, which he did awesome, man. He made me buy that fourth one, dude. So yeah.
It's just your impatience that they got docked.
Yeah. Like, give it to me now. Dude, we appreciate you being on here.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Josh.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Check out Josh's podcast, Get Valiant, Stitcher, iTunes. We like these guys, man. So
yeah, they're really cool.
They're on my car when there's a new episode, so you guys should check it out too.
Yep, come find our Facebook page. It's called Get Valiant. We have a little bit of a community there. You know, I try not to step on the toes of any of the other ones too much, but I like to think we have something different to offer than everybody else.
Oh, I definitely think so too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty active on that page too, and again, trying not to step on toes, but just to be a fan of Valiant is just kind of where my heart is on this. And anybody who's trying to help Valiant, I'm in.
Definitely.
So.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, cool. Yep. Thanks again, Josh. We appreciate everything.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
We're out, guys. Thank you. Have a nice night.